on this first one, and it is wrong on the key, so keep that in mind, but it's 1/5 x minus 6, and on the final exam you will have the grids just like you're looking at them here. There'll be like one whole page of graphs. How you do them, whether you use your grapher or whether you use another method, is up to you. But if you use a grapher, you need to at least show the points that you should show. In other words, on this one, b, what is b? B is equal to -6. That's the y-intercept. So you would need to show -6 here. And then the slope is 1/5, which means you go up 1 over 5. That's how I got that second dot. And then connect them. So on your exam, if you want to throw it in the grapher, that's fine. But you need to be sure that when you sketch it, it's going through -6 and then it has a slope of 1/5. That's fine. That one's easy enough to do by hand, but you could use your grapher if you wanted. All right. Everybody good with that? Number 2. I did it on here by hand, but you could throw this one in the grapher. But it needs to be a legitimate sketch of that. What we needed to know, what we learned was what the basic absolute value of x looks like. It looks like a V, and it goes to 0 and goes up that way. So I put that in the blue dotted line. And then, because we know that inside, that means things shift right, and outside, that shifts up or down. So this one goes down. So it shifted right 5 and down 4. So if you take from 0 and you go right 5 and down 4, you get the new vertex, and then you could do that. So if you want to do it by hand, you could do that and just write down for me, shift right, down 4, then you could do it. Or you can throw it in the grapher, just make sure it is at the right point down here. Okay? Everybody good on that? All right, let's look at 3. All right, for 3, I did the same thing. You have y equals x squared is your basic one, so that we know looks like that. I did that with the blue dotted one. It shifts right 4 and down 2 for the vertex, and then draw your new one. So you could do it that way, or you could put it in the grapher and get a sketch. Be sure the vertex is at the right place. That's the thing that will be important. Okay? You don't have to put the dotted one if you don't want to, but for me, that's an easy way to do it by hand. Sketch that and then move that vertex. This is the point that's moving. Okay. Now this one, you probably want to put this guy in the grapher. Let's see if I can get. So here's the original. It's a piecewise function. It has 2 pieces, and we want to put it in the calculator in those 2 pieces. So this is what it looks like in the calculator. You're going to do y1 and y2. The function part is in parentheses. The parameter is in parentheses. Have to have that. Where do you get these symbols? Anybody remember? Second math. So let's write that on here. So to get those symbols, you'll go to second math. And you get both of those in. And if you're not in dot mode, you may have a connecting line right here, but it's not part of the graph. The thing that won't show up that's important for your final exam is this open circle and closed circle. Look here, this guy does not have an equals under him, so that's just an open circle at this one where it's greater than 0. So you need to show an open circle there. This one's got the equal, so it's a closed circle. So that's the difference, and that's the one thing that won't show up on your grapher, so you have to note that.
Will we use our notes too?
Notes? Like the 4-page thing? Yes. Yes. The formulas and models, the TI-83, the regression, all of those that you've used on every test, you do get to use. Okay. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, let's look at 5. 5, definitely do that one in your grapher. Put that in, and you'll put it in exactly as it shows right there. And to be accurate on a sketch, you would need to show the x-intercepts. you don't have to go do second calc intersect or anything, because you should know the intercept here is 0, here is 1, here is 2. So I put dots on those three numbers, and then the grapher is going to show you the shape of it, where it hits the x, and you can just sketch that part. So that the important part of that one is to put the x-intercepts where they are. And you'll have one like that with it in the parentheses, and that gives you the intercepts right off the bat. Okay? Questions on that one? Anybody? Okay. All right. This one, you do need to show me some work on this one. You can use your grapher and should use your grapher, but you have to show me the vertical asymptote here, and that means you take the bottom, set it equal to 0, you'll get the vertical asymptote is x equals -5. Then you need to do the horizontal asymptote. Remember, you have to check the degree of the top, degree of the bottom, and you end up with y equals leading coefficient over leading coefficient. That's 1 over 1, so y equals 1. All of that stuff's on that formulas and model sheet. So if you forget how to do the horizontal asymptote, it's on there. You need to put those as dotted lines. Y equals 1, x equals -5. Then put it in your grapher, and here's how you put it in your grapher. If you don't put the top in parentheses and the bottom in parentheses, you won't get the accurate graph. So you need to do that, put it in, and you'll get this shape and this shape, but you have your lines as boundaries, and so now you could throw them in there. Questions on that one? Okay. All right. Number 7, I did not have a grid. I didn't get to that when I was doing the ones. I was trying to do the graphs ahead of time, but it is y equals 2 to the x minus 4. You'll want to use your grapher, and when you put it in y1, you want to do 2 caret, put that in parentheses, and do it like that. And you should get, let's see if we can, we'll have something like this, and it should be somewhere like this. Is that what it looks like? Something like that. And that one can be just a sketch. Okay, there's not too much that I need you to do. All right. Okay, let's do 8. Is 8 solving the inequality? Okay, so we have x squared minus 6x minus 7 less than or equal to 0. Again, you want to put that in your grapher. Not that the graph is part of the answer, but to help you show that. So we have a grid, and we put it in, and you should get something like this. And remember that where it crosses the x, sometimes you might have an open circle, sometimes you'll have a closed. What do we have in this case? Closed. Right here says closed circle. Okay, so we put a closed circle there and a closed circle there. And then we decide, do we want to highlight below or above the x? That tells us that too. If it's less than, it's below. So that means our answer exists down here. Okay? And when we have that, we can write the answer. Oh, sorry. We do need to find this number and this number. You can do that by second calc intersect, or you could factor it. So if you do it with, you might need to do this. And y2 equals 0. That way you can do that second calc 5. You can find that number and that number. And what do we get? -1 and 7. So you will need to find those x-intercepts. Now we can write the answer. Where does this thing less than or equal to 0? From what to what? Well,
Oh, no.
you're looking at the yellow. So -1 to 7. Does it have parentheses or brackets? With the equal thing, it tells you brackets. And that should be in your notes as well. So the answer is -1 to 7. Or, if you prefer, or if it has on there, so look for either of those answers in the multiple choice. That's either way. Okay? All right, number 9. Number 9. Okay, I need to get my actual thing here, see what it says. Somewhere. Is 9, what is it wanting us to do? I can't find my sheet. There it is. Okay, 9 says find an equation that shifts the graph of f by the indicated amounts. So they give you this to start out with. And we want to go right 4 and up 5. So what does that mean? What does that mean? If you're shifting right or left, where does that go? Inside the parentheses. So we're going to have f of x equals parentheses x minus 4 to the 4th. Remember that right is a minus, left is a plus. And then what does the up 5 do? Plus 5. So that's all it's asking you to do there. Okay, number 10. This was your question, right, Ray? Okay, so it wants to know on this question, x cubed minus 7x minus 5, where is this thing increasing or decreasing? And did it ask specifically decreasing? Okay, so you want to put this in your grapher. So put that one in y1. And you'll get a picture of it. And it should look something like that. Okay, so if we're worried about where it's decreasing, let's look at this picture. Where is it decreasing? Because we're going up, 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 down, and then up, up, up. So it's decreasing from here to here. And I'm going to highlight that with yellow because that's what it's asking. If it had said where's it increasing, it would have been here to here and here to here. So you first have to get a picture of it, decide what are they asking you about. Then it's about the x values of those two dots, those two blue dots. How can we find those? What are these points? This is a max, this is a min. So, whoops. This is a max, this is a min. We know how to find those. Do a second calc max and find this point, and a second calc min and find that point. And it'll be decimals, so round it to the hundredths. Should get these. See if you match what I got. Okay. So the x values are the only thing that we're concerned about in the answer. So this thing is decreasing from this point to this point, and you would write it like that. Okay. Does that make sense? Mallory, question? No? Okay. You looked questioning or puzzled, so I was checking. Okay. All right. Any other questions on that one? Ray, did that help you? No? Okay. Let me stop. All right. Let's look at 11 and 12. Those should be easy. Number 11 says vertical. What's the equation of a vertical line that goes through -9, -7? What does it mean when it's vertical? It's this way. So it's got to go through the x value. So it's simply x equals -9. X equals -9. Please don't miss that one. That one's an easy one. And so is 12. 12 is horizontal through -4, 7. So if that's vertical, if it goes through the x, what does the horizontal do? Goes through the y. So that one's going to be y equals what? Okay. All right. All right, 13 said, write the equation of the line if you have 4, -3 is a point and m equals -7. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So it's 4, 3. Okay, cool. All right, so remember that you have these equations on your formulas and model sheets, the formula for point slope, because that's what you need. And here is your x1, here's your y1, and here's your m. And you're going to plug into this equation, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And you're just going to plug in those parts that we just talked about. Okay? So, bless you, we will have y minus 3 equals -7 times x minus 4. You saw me writing the wrong thing. Okay, so y minus 3 equals -7x plus 28. Add the 3, y equals -7x plus 31. Okay, so we're good with that one? Okay, 14. We're moving kind of through, but for those of you that are here, I will ask you to sign a piece of paper, not that you were here, but that I can email this to you, the work, when I get it completed, okay? So if you don't get it all written down, you will have some of it. But I figure if you're here, you deserve that. All right, number 14. A ball is thrown down from a window in a tall building, and it gives you its position. So it says its position is this. And it wants to know how long will it take the ball to fall 102 feet. So what kind of graph is that? What kind of graph is S? What does it look like? It's a parabola. And if you put that in your calculator, this is the way you're going to solve this problem. You're going to go to y1 and put 16t squared plus 32t. And in y2, because it's falling, and it's going to get to a horizontal place at 102. So in y2, we'll put 102. You're going to have to adjust your window on this one. So for our sake right now, x should be -5, and y will work at -100, 120. You would have to adjust it on the test, so be aware that you'll have to do that. why would I know that my y's got to be at least, it's got to be at least over 102. So that's why the y max had to be that. All right, so then you're going to find the intersection of those two graphs, the parabola and the horizontal line. So you'll do second calc 5, which is intersect, and you should get a point. Okay, try that for me and see if you do get, and you're looking for the x value of that intersection, 1.72 seconds. See if we get that, anybody that's actually doing it. Anybody? So the key thing on the test is to be able to see it in the window so that you can get that intersection. So just manipulate and know that you will probably have to change the window. Not necessarily will it be those numbers to change it to, but know that you've got to manipulate it. Okay? How do you what? Oh, if you just make it x when you put it in. Oh, I should have, oh, Ray, I'm so sorry, because I should have made that an x there. Okay, your x. That's not anything, is it? Yeah, that's an x. Okay. Elizabeth, what was your question? Did you do second calc 5 and find the intersection of those two graphs? Okay, 15. Your company uses the quadratic model, and it gives you this, y equals negative 4.5 x squared plus 150x, and that's representing the average number of new customers who will be signed on after the release of your new service. How many can you expect to gain in week 16? And it says x is the weeks. So what are they really just asking you to do? Plug in 16. You could do this a couple of ways. You could just do it on the home screen of your calculator, plugging in 16. And so it would look, I think I have the screen. It would just, you'd have negative 4.5 times 16 squared plus 150 times 16, and you'd get something. Or you could put it in the calculator grapher, y equals that, and go to table and find the x value for the y value for 16. I think this is actually easiest. So see what you get. You should get 1248. Okay. So that's all you're asked to do on number 15. Okay. Number 16. Number 16, evaluate the function at the indicated value. So they give you a piecewise function. So you have two pieces, and you have parameters for both those pieces. You have x less than or equal to negative 1, and you have x greater than negative 1. And it wants you to find f of negative 6. Do not plug it into both pieces. Decide which piece to plug it in. And you have to look at the parameters. Is negative 6 less than negative 1 or greater than negative 1? Less. So that's what you do, and you say, oh, it fits there, so I'm going to plug in here. Okay? So f of negative 6 equals 7 times negative 6, which is negative 42. So you don't want to do both pieces. You want to do the one that fits. Okay. All right. Number 17. says determine whether this is odd, even, or neither. Is that plus 5x cubed? Well, what do you notice about the exponents? They're odd. So this guy is odd. That's the easy way to do that. Okay. What if you had one of each, an odd and an even? Neither. Okay. So be aware that it could be that. All right, number 18. Use the given information and write its complete factored form. Okay. So you're given, let's move this up a little bit. You're given this. And zeros, which are the solutions, are -1, -3, and 2. So all it's asking you to do is take those answers and write it in a factored form. F of x would equal x minus a -1. So what's that going to be? +1. You just change the sign. Times x plus 3 times x minus 2. And that's all you're doing. Easy, easy. Ah, come on. Okay. All right, questions on that one? Okay, 19 is solving, and it's a quadratic equation, I believe. All right. What do we have? We have x squared minus 14. I cannot write. Equals 0. And you're gonna, you could try to factor this if it just said solve. You could always try to factor it. If that doesn't work, quadratic formula. Or if it says put your answer in complex form, it's kind of a hint that you're gonna have that. So you want to note that A is 1, coefficient here, B is -14, and C is 85. And then you're going to plug into the quadratic equation, which you have in your formulas and models. Again, you don't have to memorize it. So x equals 14 plus or minus square root of -14 squared minus 4 times 1 times 85 all over 2 times 1. Now, whether you have to write all of that out or not, if you want to do it in your calculator and can do it all, great. I'm writing it out for you so that you see it. So that's 14 plus or minus square root of, what do I have, 196 minus 340 over 2 equals 14 plus or minus square root of -144 over 2. Long problem. 14 plus or minus. Now, square root of -144. What does the negative tell you inside the radical? It's imaginary. So your root is going to be the square root of 144, which is 12, but it's going to have an I on it. So you've got 12i, all of that over 2. And then if you can reduce, if 2 will go into both of them, you do that. So for our answer, x equals 7 plus or minus 6i. Questions? Okay. We're going pretty quick, but we're trying to get all of this. Okay, what are we on? 20. Solve the equation. This one's kind of a big problem. X cubed plus 5x squared plus 49x plus 245. All right, if it says solve, the first thing I would always do would be to put it in the grapher. Okay, how many roots should you see? How many x-intercepts should we see? 3. So we know that there should be 3 solutions to this. So put that in your calculator and see what we get. Remember that you need to put y2 to be 0 in order to get that x-intercept. Do you see it crossing more than one time? Or do you see it crossing at all? Not crossing at all? Anybody? So we'll do a second calc 5, and you should get x to be what? -5. So we know that's one of the solutions. But we said there were 3. So this is where you have to do synthetic division to get the others. Okay? So we're going to use synthetic division because there's no way you can get the others on the grapher if they're imaginary. All right, so we put -5 in our little box, and we write down the coefficients of the equation. So we have a 1, a 5, a 49, and a 245. We draw a line. We remember that this guy goes down, so we have 1 here. And then it's multiplying and adding. 1 times -5, -5. Add, get 0. 0 times that is 0. Add. 49 times that is going to give you this. And if you don't get a 0, if you don't get a 0 on that last thing, you've done something wrong. Because -5 is a factor. There should be no remainder. Okay? And what that tells us, we started out with x cubed. We've dropped down to x squared plus 49. I don't have an x term, so it's x squared plus 49. And now you can solve a quadratic. If no other way, you could do it with the quadratic equation. But how about this? X squared plus 49 equals 0. X squared equals -49. So x is plus or minus square root of -49. What's the square root of -49? 7 with an I on it. Okay? So x is plus or minus 7i. And those are your other two answers. You had -5 was one of them, and plus or minus 7i. Okay? Questions on that guy? Okay, what are we on? Number 21? Okay. 21, you have this over this, and it says, what's the domain? What are we worried about? The bottom, because the domain is where this thing exists. And if there's a problem, there's somewhere it can't exist. So take the bottom and set it equal to 0 and solve. And that's going to tell you your restrictions. And don't forget, when we look at this, we can factor what's common in both these pieces. X. So if I take x out, that's x is left and a 4 is left. There's actually 2 things here. So don't forget, this could either be x is 0 or x plus 4 is 0. And so we have x is -4. Those are our restrictions. That's not the answer. That's what x can't be. So, all reals except x not equal to 0 or -4, something like that. As long as you know what it means, you'll be able to pick out your answer in the multiple choice. All right. Okay, questions? Anybody? Stop me if you have one. All right, 22. We have this thing over this. And we're not asked the domain, we're asked to find vertical asymptotes. We do the very same thing we did for the domain, because the vertical asymptotes are where this thing doesn't live. So when you find the restrictions, that's your answer. We have to take this bottom and set it equal to 0. Can we factor that thing? Okay, how does that factor, Ray? Good. Do what now? Okay, if you did x minus 3 and a... Oh, that is right. You had it right. I was saying what you said, didn't I? Is it this way? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. So that was it. I had it right. I don't know if I was listening to you when I wrote that. I don't know. But you're right. That's the way it should be. And then you take each of them and set them equal to 0. So x equals -9, x equals 3. And those actually are the answers. Okay, because it's equations. All right. So that's vertical asymptotes. If you forget how to find them, it's on your formulas and model sheet. Just like number 23, the horizontal, same thing. H of x equals 5x squared minus 7x minus 3 over 7x squared minus 4x plus 3. So what do? We have to look at the degree. What's n equal to? That's there. So n is 2, and m is 2. So that tells me n equals m. When you look on your formulas and model sheet, that says your horizontal asymptote is the leading coefficient over the leading coefficient. And so then we're looking at this number and this number. So y is 5 over 7. And that's your answer. Question on that one? Okay. So we've done a vertical, we've done a horizontal, and now we have to do a slant. And 24, what do you do for a slant one? You've got to use synthetic division, or you could use long division, but I would say use synthetic. Let's do synthetic division and divide this by this. So that means we're going to have a 1, a 9, a -9, and we're going to divide by what? 8. We change the sign if it's in that form. So come down here, bring this guy down. We have a 1. 1 times 8, 8. 9 and 8 is 17. Do we even need to worry about here? We're not worried about the remainder at all. So your answer is, because it'll be an equation of a line, y equals x plus 17. So that's not so bad if you're using synthetic division. Okay? Good? All right, 25. Some of us got these really well and some not so much. So let's look at these. the compositions. F of x is 6x plus 6, and g of x is 5x plus 8. So remember that you go right to left, okay? And so you've got to find g of 4. So what is g of 4? That means plug 4 into the g function. So g of 4 is 5 times 4 plus 8, which is what? 28. And then we've got that, so now we go into f, and we do f of 28 is equal to 6 times 28 plus 6, which is 174. And there's your answer. I don't know why that did a big box, but okay. Does that make sense? So start on the right-hand side, put this number into this function. Whatever number you get, put it into the other function. Always go right to left. All right. Where are we? Now we've got to find just the function composition. 26. If f of x is 3x plus 11 and g of x is 4x minus 1, and we're supposed to find f of g of x. Okay, so what does that mean? Which one are we putting into what? G into f, because we always go this way. So this whole thing here is going to go right there. Okay, so we're going to have 3 times 4x minus 1 plus 11. I took the whole g function, put it into f. So then you just clean it up a little bit. And that would be your answer. So just note which function goes to which. On the test, it could be g of f, which means you put f into g. So you just look at what's on the right and put that into the other one. All right. Okay, we're getting there. All right, 27. Gives you two functions and says, what is f minus g? So f of x is 9x minus 2. G of x is 7x minus 8. And what is f minus g? That's literally just subtracting. What is 9x minus 7x? 2x. And negative 2 minus a negative 8? So that'd be plus 6. And there's our answer. So that one's not bad. Okay. All right, 28. Is 28 the inverse? Yeah. All right, you're given f of x is 3x plus 7. And you want to, find the inverse. So remember, you have those rules for finding the inverse. First thing, you rewrite f of x as y. So y is 3x plus 7. What do you do next? Switch x and y. So you have x is 3y plus 7. And then you solve for y. That means subtract the 7 and divide by the 3. And your last step would be to change y to f inverse. So it's f inverse equals x minus 7 over 3. So just follow those steps. change f of x to y, then switch x and y, solve for y, and then instead of y, write f inverse. And you should be good. Okay. All right. 29. We are moving. All right. 29 is a compound interest formula, and you're given this 12,000, 5%, quarterly, 9 years. Those are the key elements in this problem. And you're supposed to find how much money you're going to have at the end of 9 years. So you have that formula. It's in your formulas and model sheet. You don't have to memorize it. So we're just going to plug in. A is 12,000 times 1 plus 0.05. Turn that into a decimal. What is n? What is n in our question? Anybody? T is the time. N is 4. You get it from how many times it's compounded. If it's quarterly, it's 4. If it's semi-annually, it's 2. If it's monthly, it's 12. Remember that. So we have 0.05 over 4 raised to the 4 times 9. If you're doing it in your calculator, which you will, you could try putting it all in at once, but sometimes people get messed up on that. If you do it in pieces. In other words, do 0.05 divided by 4 and hit enter. And then add 1 to it, hit enter. Raise it to the 36, enter. And then multiply by 12,000. And you should get that. I would practice and make sure. Putting it in the formula is not the hard part. Making sure you do it in the calculator right is the issue. Okay. 30. Same thing, except we have $3,000, 2% continuously, 7 years. So the difference there is this. If it says continuously, you're going to use P, whoops, not P, equals, my eraser's not working. Erase. Well, sometime today would be good. A equals P times e to the RT. Okay, and using the number e. So we're going to have A equals 3,000 e to the 0.02 times 7. So if you're putting that in the calculator, just be careful. You're going to have 3,000. You'll do second ln to get e, and you'll have e. It will automatically do a caret. You want to have a it'll have a parentheses, I think, and keep this in the parentheses. And you should get 3450, 82. Somebody get that to verify? Okay. Okay. So those aren't bad. Just note that the continuously tells you to use a different formula than the just regular compound. Okay, hold on. All right, on 31, they give you this big paragraph, lots of stuff. Says, suppose the amount of a radioactive element remaining in a sample of 100 milligrams after X years is A of X, and it gives you an equation. How much is remaining after 226 years? What are they asking you to do? Are you having to solve an equation or anything? They're just asking you to plug in 226 for X in the equation. So you should just, on your calculator on the solving part, do 100e to the negative 0.01234 times 226, which is the number from the problem, which is number of years. Okay, and you should see what you get when you do that. You should get, and it says to round to the nearest hundredth, so I believe we should get 6.15 milligrams. You get it? Okay. All right. Hang with me just a little bit more and we will have this whole thing done. All right, 32. Solve the equation symbolically. Is that the right one? Okay. 3 to the x equals 684. How in the world do we solve that? Oh. They're not really wanting us to solve. They're just saying, when it says symbolically, actually they're wanting us to put that in log form, I believe. Look at your answer key on that one. Does it just have log base 3 of 684 equals x? Do they have that? Okay, so solving symbolically, whoops, hello. Solving symbolically means get it into x equals form, like that. So you're not really solving for x, you're just doing it symbolically. So that's pretty easy. Remember that this is your base, this is your argument, here's your exponent. Exponent's always by itself. All right, so that's 32. 33, same thing. Log base 3 of x equals 2.8. How can we do that one? Here's your base, here's your exponent. So solving it symbolically, 3 to the 2.8 equals x. You just want to get x by itself. Okay. All right. 34. Expanding. These rules are on your model sheet, but I don't know, some people still didn't quite get them. Let's do number 34. Log base b, is that b? M to the 4th p squared over n to the 6th b to the 7th. Okay, that's one log. They want us to expand it, and so you have to use those log rules. All right. First of all, this is a quotient. So what does a quotient mean? You subtract. So that'd be the first thing. Log base b of this top part minus log base b of the bottom part. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then we can bring, this is a product, this is a product. So we could separate those two pieces. If I can get that to go down. So log base b of m to the 4th plus log base b of p squared minus log base b of n to the 6th. Is this going to be a minus or a plus here? It's a plus for this product, but this minus out here is going to turn that part into a minus. Because it's like this is in parentheses. You see what I'm saying? And on multiple choice, one of the options will probably have the wrong sign. So be careful. This is minus this and minus the other part. Okay? So it'll be minus log base b of b to the 7th. What's the only other thing that we can do? The powers. Powers can go to the front. So we have 4 log base b of m plus 2 log base b of p minus 6 log b of n minus 7 log b of b. One more thing before you can say we're done. This one, b to what power gives you b? 1. b to the 1 power gives you b, so that's actually 1 right there. So that's equal to 1, and 7 times 1 is 7. So you'd have all of that minus 7. I'm not rewriting all that, but you'd have all of this minus 7. Okay? All right. What are we on? Condense. 35. Did y'all get your question answered, Elizabeth? Or whoever had a question over there? You did? Okay. All right. Do what? Right here, that's a b. So b raised to what power would give me b? 1. So this expression, log base b of b, is the same as 1. 1 times 7. So at the end of this whole thing for the answer, you have minus 7, not this business. Okay. All right. 35 says, okay, now condense. So we have log b of x plus log b of y. If it's adding, how does that condense? Product. Okay. So all you have to write is log, whoa, what in the world is that business? Log base b of x, y, and that's the answer. Okay. All right. 36 is a calculator question. So be sure that if it says change of base, you know to do it on the calculator. Log base, is that 4.2? 69? So in the calculator, let's see. In the calc, you're going to do log 69 divided by log 4.2. And I think that'll be in parentheses, and that'll be in parentheses. So just the log of the argument divided by the log of the base. And see, you should get, what do we get, 2.9504? Is that right? Did somebody get that one? Okay, good, good. All right, couple more and we'll be done. 37. This is a log equation. It's written like this. Okay? You always want to turn log equations into exponential. What's the base here that's not written? 10. 10 is the base. And so you write it as exponential, which is 10 to this power equals 4 minus x. Subtract the 4, so 6 equals negative x. And so what does x equal? Negative 6. Okay, the last three are regression equations, and I'm not going to pull up the grapher on that. What I do want to caution you is to look for in the problem what it's telling you. Number 38 says, what's the quadratic? So there you're going to do quadratic regression. Number 39 says the equation of the line, so that means linear. And 40, exponential function. So that's exponential regression. Choose the one that you're supposed to choose. Okay? So I would just highlight, but you should know how to put those in for regression, and you can have those notes out if you don't. Any questions? We went through tons of stuff. If you had worked a lot of it, great. That was more review. If you hadn't, I think we went over everything, and I think you should be good. Do I have a 40? Oh, I didn't even go to the end. I thought I was at the end. I'm so sorry. 41 is regression. It's cubic. And then 42, 43, and 44 are back on the matrix stuff, and pretty much everybody made 100 on those. Actually, I have your test if you